how has your economic status changed since Prime Minister Modi took charge? Are you better off? Are you same as before? Are you worse off? Let's take a look at the responses in this question. 30% of the respondents in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll say the economic condition is improved. 28% say it's the same. 38% are saying it's deteriorated. Now that's interesting. There's an 8% gap between those who think their condition is better with those who think their condition is actually worse. Now that's something for the government to worry about. How do you see the performance of the economy over the next six months? So essentially, what's your confidence index? You have a business confidence index where you ask CEOs. This is the Janta Ka confidence index. Here are the responses. 31% of the respondents say the economic condition is likely to improve. 26% say it will stay the same. 34% say it's likely to worsen. Critical there again, 34% saying likely to worsen more than the 31% who think it's likely to improve.
And if you add Rahul 34 to 26, that's 60% who are saying either it will remain the same or worsen. So it's not as if they expect anything magical to happen in the next 6 months.
So the remain the same are not so problematic.
But worsen is problematic.
The worsen, the 1/3 of the respondents who are saying worsening, which is more than those who believe it will improve, that is like a red flag for the government.
Absolutely. So Siddharth Zarabi, do you go along with that? Do you believe, Siddharth, that things could get worse before they get better?
Well, Rajdeep, I think I heard only half of your question. You asked me, can things get better or worse? If that's the question, I would say that look at it from a different point of view. Inflation and out-of-pocket expenditure increase always spoils the mood of anyone, even the richest people. Of course, the margins are different. What is leading to the inflation spiral, apart from the food articles category? If you look at the profitability of our companies, all companies, you will see that their profitability has gone up very significantly. What does that tell you? It tells you that people are having to pay more and more. And I keep coming back to this single point. Inflation is the worst tax on the poor. The Modi government has insulated a very large section of our population from the immediate consequences of inflation through several of the programs, including the extended free food grain scheme. But when you look at the middle class, that's where most of the pinch is being felt. And I believe, Yashwant can correct me, that there would be a bias of more respondents from that class. And I would limit my answer to the following two things. It will be critical to see what the government does when it comes to petrol and diesel prices. Remember, they are frozen. Crude oil prices are on a downward spiral. Last year, there was an excise cut. Closer to the elections, what will the government do? The second bit is, how soon will this seasonality of vegetable price spikes and others be dealt with? Food grains, I think the government is acting tough by looking at, putting temporary bans on exports or limiting exports and restrictions. I think inflation is the single biggest problem that this government is grappling with. And that will, in 3 months' time, perhaps change the mood, Rajdeep.
Supriya Shrinet, do you want to quickly respond, and I've got very little time, to what was said by Yashwant and by others, and then Sanju, you can also have your 30 seconds. We've come to the end of a Mood of the Nation which shows that the BJP is returning to power as if elections are held today. But there is a serious concern over the economy and the condition of people. I would say more about individual conditions. Do you have a plan in mind to reverse all this, to make yourself more electable? Quick response.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously we have a plan in mind, because unlike Mr. Modi and the rest of his cabinet, including the finance minister, we don't live in denial. We don't take the ostrich approach, which is to look away from the problem and the problem is going to solve itself. It hasn't. In the last 9 years, it has only worsened, which is why their average rate of growth is only 5.7% versus ours of 7.5%. The reality is that FDI inflows are down. The reality is unemployment is up. The reality is price rises hurting the poor. The reality is income inequality has increased. That's the reality of the Modi economy. Beat me on numbers.
Okay.
Let Sanju Verma
Yeah,
respond.
Sanju Verma, please respond now. 30
Thank
seconds,
you.
all yours.
Thank you now, and I will again give an illustration. You can see this is a glass full of water. A glass full of water. And now, this is what the Janta used to get under the Congress dispensation. The reason I'm trying to give this analogy, the reason I'm
We
trying
would
to
not
give
have
this
had to do
analogy is...
this.
No, Supriya
Can I
Shinde, don't
please
were
intervene,
not
please.
suffering.
This
Supriya
is not
Shinde, you
fair.
cannot intervene.
If the middle class
You're
did
committing
not
the same
suffer,
This is
mistake.
not
with
fair.
backbreaking
Yeah,
prices.
it's not fair.
This is
Please
not fair.
put a fader down. Sanju Verma, go ahead. Show me more about the
Thank
glass.
you.
What are you trying to say?
Thank you. Thank you. This is a glass almost half full, and यहाँ पर आप देख रहे हो that the glass is not even 1/4 full. This is the BJP and this is the Congress. The point I'm making this analogy is that even something as basic as water, out of the 19.5 crore urban and rural households till 2014, before Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister, only 2.5 crore rural and semi-urban households had access to basic drinking water. And today, more than 14 crore households have access to basic drinking water, which means more than 70% of India's rural and semi-urban population gets water which they can drink straight out of the tap. But that is not the point. I will just quickly now finish. Rajdeep, at some point we all have taken loans, home loans. I think home loans is something that has been critical to the middle class across governments. Under the Congress, and you can verify this, I have done a study of the balance sheets of the biggest home loan lenders. Under the Congress, the prime lending rate, the basic lending rate at which home loan was given was 14%. If you had a 1 crore loan spread over 20 years, your monthly EMI was 1,43,000. Today for 1 crore loan spread over 20 years, your monthly EMI is 87,000 rupees at 8.5% MCLR. That is the difference. Under the Modi government, you are
So
getting...
we're running out of time in this show. I want final words from Rajdeep and from Yashwant about your biggest takeaway in this marathon coverage tracked so widely around the mood of the nation. What's your one big takeaway?
Yashwant, you first.
Well, I think the numbers are showing that people are showing the concerns with many of the things. They are appreciative of the fact that we have been through rough patches post-pandemic and everything. They are appreciative of the fact that the free food program and everything has actually helped the big chunk of bottom of the pyramid. But just having ration and being happy about it is not the thing. They want to see into a better future. They want to make sure that they get employment, they make good money, they take care of their families, and they are able to purchase that food rather than getting it free from the governments. You know, people generally think of it, Rajdeep, agar khana mil gaya hai, log khush hain. Nahin. Janta चाहती है, लोग चाहते हैं कि हम स्वावलंबी हों, हमें अपना खाना हम खुद खरीद सकें. And that concern is there, but that concern, they also see that possibility of finding the solution of that concern through Mr. Modi at this point.
Rajdeep.
You know, my sense is Indians at the moment are moving away from what was the coalition era to an era where they want a stable government.
Exactly.
Mr. Modi represents at the moment that sense of stability and strength as a leader. That's one. Number two, while people are hurting, and I think we must recognize that, they also live in hope of a better future. You've got to give them a dream for the future. Mr. Modi, when he talks of Amrit Kal and the possibility of what India will be in 2047, is offering a hope. The challenge for the opposition, and there is an opportunity there, is offer a counter vision, a narrative that is equally compelling, if not more. If you can do that, this could be a much tighter race leading into 2024.
The data suggests the Modi government is in pole position to get a third term. The data also suggests that there is economic distress and that distress is real. People are hurting. At this moment, the data suggests that they seem to think that Prime Minister Modi is the best agent of change who can promise a better future, but that is something the government cannot take for granted, because if you see questions around whether the economic situation is getting better or worse, more people think it's getting worse. More people also think economic policies are benefiting big business rather than the Aam Aadmi. Those are red flags that the government needs to look at very, very carefully. There is an opportunity there for the opposition, but in the absence of being able to win trust, the government for reasons of the failure of the opposition as much as their own performance, is well poised in August 2023 to come back to power in May, April next year. We will be back with another Mood of the Nation in January, just before the general election cycles begin.
And much will change between now and then. We are going to go into a big election season. Of course, G20 comes next month, and then there's a big election season, November, December. So plenty to look forward to. The mood of this nation can change, well, every 24 hours, some say. But this is a wonderful country, and it's great to get a sense of what people are thinking. You know, one concern I have, one question that he raised, and I want to put it here. Yashwant asked a question: which institution is best preserving democratic norms? The judiciary came first, the legislature came second, the executive came fourth, we in the media were third at 12% only thought that we were best preserving India's democratic ethos. So point to ponder for you, me, and all our media friends.
For watching the Mood of the Nation so carefully and for sharing your feedback, good, bad, ugly, thank you very much. We were accused on the same show of being unfair both to the BJP and the Congress by their spokespersons, but that's just the way life is. We take it in our chin and we move on.